Hey, what's up, world? I had a great time talking with Reuben Zarate of Dante Elephante. Ruben is the lead singer, songwriter, and frontman of his band, and he just released a new album called Mid-Century Modern Romance on Born Losers Records. He's also the host of the Dante Elephante podcast, where he interviews musicians, comics, and actors. This was my first time meeting Ruben. I was super excited to talk to him, and I had a great time. And I highly recommend checking out the new record, checking out the podcast, and check out all of his music and videos. Anyway, here it is. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Dante Elephante.
So far, so sorry. I feel like I'm all over the place. But
Oh, no worries at all. Is it just been some personal things, or is there just
no? So my car needed a smog check. So yesterday I was like, this should take no time. I'll go to the smog check place. I went and they said I needed a new catalytic converter. I was like, okay. He was like, how long have you had this car? I was like, less than a year. I bought it used, and they're just like, yeah, it's just not the right one, man. Go check out this muffler place. So I go to the muffler place. The guy tells me it's going to cost $530 to switch this thing out. And I'm like, this car isn't even fucking worth $530. Like, and then so I have to get a second opinion. I got to get another opinion. I go to another place on the opposite side of town. He says it's fine. He's like, that's the stock converter your car comes with. There's no reason why I shouldn't pass a smog test. So I had to go to another smog place, and they passed me because like, yeah, it's stock, it's fine. And so today I had to go back to the first place and get my money back because they still charged me like $70 for a smog check.
Is that the red truck that was in your Instagram story?
Yeah.
I think I saw that. I was wondering, it was getting lifted up. I was like, oh, they're taking it to space. What are they doing?
He was showing me that. He's like, it's not the right one, and someone tried to do this or that or modify it, but it passes federal levels but not California levels. And I was like, dude,
Dude, cars are a mess. I mean, one of the things that I wish, I'm not a big car guy, like I don't have a lot of knowledge on cars and stuff, but I kind of wish I could just that's a skill I'd love to have, to just be able to work on a car all by myself and know exactly what needs to get fixed. So because it's just so frustrating going to mechanics and you don't know if they're trying to screw you over or if they know what they're talking about. But
and especially in today's time, like there's just less work, less clients, less people coming in. So if they see me, they're like, okay, we need to take advantage, and this is our time to like take advantage of this kid who knows nothing about cars. I definitely tried to join automotive class. What's that class in high school you take? Auto shop. Yeah. And I was like, this is brutal. I am not cut out for this.
Yeah. And it's one of those things you always need to get multiple opinions. You hear one person tell you one thing and the other one tell you another thing.
Yeah.
It sounds like you got it together, right?
Yeah, I got my money back in my smog check, and now I can pay my registration. But I definitely thought about this like immediately, like what's going to happen to all these smog places and all these other different businesses once electric cars become more of a thing. We won't need smog checks anymore. Like none of that stuff will be necessary.
Right.
Obviously this is like 50, 60 years in the future, but it's starting now. We're seeing, the accessibility of an electric car.
Yeah, people don't always think about the there's always positives and negatives to any technological advancements,
right?
All that stuff, and sometimes it can be tricky trying to keep up with some of those things. And it reminds me too of like so many cars, even if they're not electric cars, they have so much more electric components nowadays. Like if you get a brand new car, it's not like the radio and the screen and everything that's all these different functions and stuff. And I feel like those are the kind of things that they don't last forever. Like, when you have like a smart car with a screen, those kind of things, there's something nice about older cars where it's just kind of like, it's just the car. You don't have all these gadgets that you need to take care of. It's not an iPhone. It's just a car.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. With older cars, everything has a purpose. Everything, it's just like plug it in here, and then you can find out why something isn't working because it's just not. You can track every little mistake back to the source. I think with like if it's like an electric car, I don't fucking know. You have to take it back to the dealer.
Yeah.
The official Tesla engineers, and they have to engineer and find out the issues. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's just not as easy.
Yeah. And that leads to the problems today of like there's so many different cars and so many different whatevers that it's hard to be an expert on every car. It's like in the old days, all cars were more similar, but yeah.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Oh man.
Damn, I didn't think this would be a car podcast.
I don't even like cars that much, man.
I don't either. I don't either. I know
man.
nothing about cars, but it's frustrating because I don't know, I guess.
When I was in LA, I didn't have a car, and it's probably one of the worst cities not to have a car in. And, I liked it though. I went to the stores that were close by, and which are just the neighborhood shops. I didn't go out of the way to find a Whole Foods or to find a Trader Joe's. I went to the place around the corner, and I got food there, and it just like supported the local economy that way.
That's actually a really cool thing. I haven't thought too much about that, but it's like, I mean, I don't know. When you look throughout history and stuff, it's like it makes sense for everything to be in the walking vicinity. There's no reason that, we're in the future now and we need to drive plenty of miles to get to a grocery store, to get to a restaurant, or everything's around you. It's I guess maybe it's specific things or being picky about things that and just being entitled to or having the ability to travel.
Yeah, having that privilege, you could say. Driving is a privilege.
Yeah.
And you still see that. There's a neighborhood in the neighborhood I grew up in, Santa Barbara, on the west side of Santa Barbara. There's one big grocery store called Foodland, and everything's marked up. Everything's way more expensive because if you don't have a car, you don't have the option to make your way up or down the hill because there's two hills. One downhill leading you to downtown Santa Barbara, and then the big hill leading you up the cliff towards the water where there's another health food store or something like that. So it's, in a way, it's like a food desert, but not really. Mm-hmm. It's not as bad as some places, but yeah, it can be tough. It can be hard if you don't have a car in California to like get around.
Yeah. But I feel like that's a positive in a way because I think that people talk about commuting as such a strenuous thing, and it really brings people down. I think if you have to drive every day an hour to work, an hour from work, and you're just in the car for a majority of your life sitting there, it gives you back pain and things like that. But I think there's a lot of freedom to just be walking around locally, and so much time can be saved if you never got in a car, if you just stick in your neighborhood.
Stick in your neighborhood, get your stuff, and go home. Yeah, I worked at a Hertz Rent-A-Car for like a day.
Yeah,
and I was in Highland Park, and I had to make my way to Hollywood, and I got up like 6 a.m. because I knew I had like an hour and a half to get to work from where I lived to where the place was. I just quit. I was like, this sucks. I was waiting in traffic like on the 110, like, oh, this like sucks. This is brutal.
How are you getting there without a car though?
Oh, this was before I didn't have a car. So I was living in LA for the first year with a car. And then in 2000 and I don't know, 16 or 17, I fell asleep driving. And then I didn't have a car. So I spent most of it without a car, but there was a moment where I did have a car.
Yeah. Did you get in a big accident?
Yeah, I was luckily by myself. Driving to Santa Barbara like at 5 a.m. just because, I don't know, I'm dumb. Yeah. But
you're okay and everything?
Yeah, it's been a long time now, and I feel good about it. Other than I missed that car.
Hey, I meant to say it at the beginning, but congratulations on the new record.
Oh, thanks, man.
Mid-century modern romance. It's been what, 2 weeks now? How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel good, man. It was let me look at my calendar here. I think January 8th. the first Friday of the new year, which was a weird week in general to promote a record because it was like on the 6th.
Yeah.
The insurrection happened, and then I was like, oh, I gotta promote a record. Oh shit! Like,
yeah.
This is awful timing now, but like it's been good. The response has been insane. Like so many people sharing the record and reaching out to me about doing podcasts and stuff like that, and I love it. It's cool. It's really fun.
I wanted to ask you about, because I'm curious. You mentioned the record coming out at January 8th, which maybe wasn't the ideal time due to the pandemic and everything.
Right.
And this record was put out on Born Losers Records.
Right.
So yeah, I just kind of wanted to ask you about like working with this specific record label and record labels in general, because you've been on several different ones. You were on Lollipop Records.
Yeah.
Self-release,
the second one.
Last Resort Forever.
Yeah.
And then even going back to, I saw online that you put out some music through Bankburner Records out of UCSB,
right.
KCSB. Yeah. I went to UCSB. I should have mentioned
that
early on too. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
So I graduated in 2019. So I'm familiar with the Santa Barbara, Goleta area a little bit.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, my experience with labels has been up and down, man. Like I did my first EP. The first EP was self-released until we re-released it with Lollipop, and then we did the full album with Lollipop. We shipped the first record around to a bunch of different labels and didn't really get any bites. And then second time around, I didn't want to do it. Lollipop and I had a falling out, but now that's all fine again. But there was a moment where, things just didn't work out between us. And then I had this second record that I tried to pitch around again to a bunch of different labels. And once again, didn't really get any responses. So I was like, okay, I'll release it myself. That had like Call Me on the Phone, which led me to doing like South by Southwest and Treefort. And I think we had some momentum building, and then I played the Santa Barbara Bowl, and I was like, okay, something's happening here. Getting an agent, moving on, recording this next record. Tried to pitch it again, except this time was at the start of the pandemic, and just nobody was even emailing me back, where at least on my last tries of pitching a record, I got responses, and like, this is why we just don't have time for this record right now, or we don't have the money for it, whatever the excuse was. This time around, I just got like nothing. So I was in this position of like, shit, I don't know what to do. And I was just at home all the time. And I started the podcast, which is great. But like, I got, music is supposed to be priority number one here. And I released the single Jenny on YouTube and on Spotify and everywhere. And that's where the label Born Losers reached out to me. And it's been really great. Like, there has been some pluses because of the pandemic of like us having a lot of time. Like, they have jobs and I don't, and I have time and to do stuff like this and to connect with people and to, shoot videos by myself and or coordinate the other music videos. Like, there's time to do that stuff now.
Yeah, it's all about the content nowadays. Got to get the content out. People want the content. They're hungry.
Right. Oh, and then so the bank burner thing, I guess KCSB wanted to start a label. So they reached out to me and another band. We had just started working with our old manager, so he like negotiated to just us. It was gonna originally be a split 7-inch, and then, after some negotiation, it ended up just being us, and which was awesome. And because the other band's not even around anymore, so I was like, I'm gonna split a 7-inch with a band that I know won't be here. Like, I know I'll be here. So like, yeah. So they printed so many of those things. I thought I gave a bunch away on my last tour in 2019, and I looked the other day and I still have a massive stack. So I have to do a better job getting rid of those things.
But before you got into work with Born Losers, was the album completely finished?
Yeah, it was completely finished.
And so, yeah, what kind of is it like promotion that the label provides you, and how do you come into like getting the album out on January 8th? How does that get decided? Is there, how much control do you have? I mean, you talked about the Lollipop records falling out and stuff. Are those kind of things? Is it hard having to work with the label?
Not too hard this time around. So your release date is kind of based around manufacturing time. Because, it's hard. You don't want to announce a record. It's like, it's coming out next month, and the records come out in 2 months because we just didn't plan it out correctly. This way, with like 3 months in advance, you could do a single and a music video every month leading up to the release, and then also you can have the vinyl test pressed and made and sent to your house, and everything's good to go for when you start accepting pre-orders. And that's like a big part of why album dates are when they are. It's just a little bit of planning, and yeah, it's cool. It's nice that I didn't have to do any of that stuff on my own this time. Talking to Pirate Press or whoever's going to press your vinyl, thinking about like, should we do a shirt? Maybe we could do a shirt in a bundle. Like, it's really great. And if there's a moment like where I don't have time to do something because I'm like busy doing other things like a podcast, like the label can step in and, you know, oh, well, we'll just make this social media clip for you. You don't have to make it. Like, it's fine. Does this look good? Okay, we'll post it. Like, and yeah.
So you mentioned back when you were getting on when you were on Bank Burner Records, you didn't want to do the 7-inch with the band
split.
that you knew wasn't going to be around.
Yeah.
Like, I'm wondering what it was like when Dante Elephante first came into when it was first being created, because you met your bandmates on Craigslist, right?
Right.
And at the time before that, you were playing in some punk bands, right?
Right. Yeah, I was just playing drums in a handful of punk bands and garage bands in Santa Barbara. We had a practice space on Segovia right by Keg and Bottle. No, not Keg and Bottle, SOS Liquor.
Oh, nice.
Right. It's like a massive apartment complex now, or housing. Before, it just used to be places where bands could practice. And so we had a space there. So for the first couple of years, I was just playing drums and jamming there, hanging out by myself. And then I figured I needed to start a band of my own with my own songs. And that's when I put the Craigslist ad out, and I met Kevin. I think Kevin and I jammed for like a few hours, and then we went to Subway, you know, right across the street from Freebirds. And then we're like, damn, this is pretty fun. Like, we should get like a drummer though. And so then put another Craigslist ad out, found Tommy. Tommy lived on DP, so he would just walk to the practice space. And yeah, it was great. And then Chris Lopez played bass, and he was studying abroad in Mexico. And so we went like through a weird little couple months where we had like revolving bass players until Chris came back to America. And yeah, that was the set lineup, and we just kind of went for it. Once again, we had like a few people filling in on drums here and there, but for the most part, yeah, it was just like us four. Was
it frustrating at first being a part of like the punk scene and all that, and having this different idea for what you want to do musically?
Yeah, I liked punk. I still love punk music. I like aggressive, hard music, but like, I don't know, it just wasn't melodic enough for me, and it was all about riffs and being loud and like an asshole kind of. which isn't really my vibe. And
you're too nice.
Yeah, man. So it's a different scene, and yeah, you show somebody your song and they're like, that's gay. It's like, okay, fuck, like, how am I supposed to, fuck this, like. So I definitely need to find my own people and find my own friends. Yeah.
And then, so when you found your own people and started, I couldn't find, I know the name Dante Elephante came from, was it Kevin's girlfriend?
My original bass player, who I thought was going to play bass, my buddy Cheyenne, his girlfriend.
So how did she come up with the name?
I don't know. We were just like outsourcing the idea of like for friends. I think she had like a stuffed animal named Dante Elephante. And we were just thinking of a bunch of different names, and we almost landed on like Cincinnati Ice or Milwaukee Talkie. I think we wanted like a name with a little bit of alliteration, like a little bit of a joke. But Cincinnati Ice is such a IV band name. So like, I'm glad we didn't end up with that. And then we told people like we were thinking of these 3 band names, and everyone was like, Dante Elephante is the best one. So
yeah. No, I think you made the right choice out of those 3. Plus, not being from those places, it's like, it's a little confusing.
Totally. Yeah. Milwaukee or Cincinnati, which I've been to both of those places now.
No, we're from Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And then so when you're starting the band out, you have this idea for Dante Elephante and what you want it to be. You get these band members together. Obviously your sound has evolved a lot from then. Right. I mean, when you take a look at the new record, it's
Yeah.
You've changed a lot, but I'm wondering, like, the dynamic within the band was, how was your role different back then? I know that you officially went solo and created the new band in what, 2016 was it?
It was like 2017.
And I know you were writing most of the songs with the original band, but was the creative process and just the band dynamic different back then with those guys versus the new guys?
Yeah, it's like if you listen to the first EP, that one reminds me the most of us in IV, just like jamming
Yeah.
and figuring things out and bouncing ideas off each other. Because some of the songs you were writing at the very beginning were, maybe drop tune D, and like maybe this should be our sound. Maybe we're more of like this kind of band, like a Built to Spill kind of band, or like whatever. But it was that first EP was really us trying to find this sound that we really loved. And now I guess you could hear it and it sounds dated. Like I had some guy on YouTube tell me it was like it's like cringy because it's like so of the time, but it's like, yeah, no shit, it's like of the time. Like you can't listen to an album now and think it's cringy just because it's like, I don't know, it's just funny. It's just like, yeah, most music from the 60s sounds like the 60s. Like,
I mean, yeah, most art in general, you watch a movie from back in the day or anything, it's like,
yeah,
you can't critique it with the same eye that you have today. Like, oh, the special effects sucked back then. It's like, no shit. Like,
yeah, it's like no shit. Like it's like in when we made the first EP, I was like listening to a lot of Best Coast, a lot of Real Estate, like Girls was a big band for me. So those three bands were really big. And of course, like things change as we got older and moved on to the next record.
yeah.
Kevin and I lived together for a while and we did a lot of writing together, but it was still mostly like I did like 80% of it. Hey, what do you think of this? What riffs do you hear? And bouncing ideas back and forth. But the process got more of like less like jamming and more writing on our own.
How long after Anglo-Saxon Summer was did you decide to break up?
Yeah, so we did Anglo-Saxon Summer, we toured on it like a little bit. I think we did like a almost 3 week tour, and we were all just hanging out, and we just kept writing, and I was trying to make my way to LA at that point and just trying to find other things to do. I think there's just that moment where we all wanted to do other things. I wanted to be in LA, our drummer was in San Francisco, like we're all just trying to make these things work. And I think ultimately that was it. I think everyone just got older and wanted to do their own things. But before everyone, this was all unofficially spoke. Like there was no conversation like this is what we're gonna do, but it was just kind of like the vibe that I caught at least. And we were just like, let's just go do one more record and do it by ourselves, our way. And that's like what Rare Attractions is, which we produced 100% by ourselves in a studio in Old Town Goleta. It wasn't even the studio, it was the lobby of the studio. He just like rented it out, and we just set up a computer, some Pro Tools, and just like fucked around like every day for 30 days. And we had full access, and yeah, that's what Rare Attractions would be.
What was the thought with going to LA? How long were you in LA for?
Like 3 years.
Yeah. What was your mindset? Like, yeah.
Let's go network. Let's go meet people. Let's go get a label. But it turned into working all day, every day. No time for shows. No money for shows. Like, it just turned into like, yeah, living versus networking. Where if I want to network, I could live in Santa Barbara, work, and then go to LA and network. But I just felt like I needed to be there, and all my friends in LA was like, you gotta come down here, man. You gotta come. Like, you're wasting your time in Santa Barbara. I'm like, okay. So I made that jump, and I was like lonely, man. You only saw people when you go to shows. Like, no one was like regular. I didn't see anyone all the time. None of my friends came down with me. I was just by myself. So, I found it to be like a lonely experience. It's a massive city with a lot of people, but it's very lonely.
So did you reach a point at a certain time when you're like, Man, I could still do music from Santa Barbara. Like, I think everybody, artists coming up, you're like, I got to go to LA or New York or
Right.
Chicago. I got to go to a big city. And,
Mhm.
and I think for me, at least, I think as time is going on with the, age of the internet and everything's so globalized,
Yeah.
it's becoming easier. It still has its perks to be in LA and New York and these big cities, but I think it's becoming easier to get away from that. Well, how do you feel?
Yeah, I think that time is done. I think, like, honestly, like, I have one video on TikTok right now getting 50,000 plays, and it's like bleeding over to other platforms. Like, if you do well on the internet, who gives a fuck where you're from now? It's like, oh, this band's from LA, this band's from New York, this band's from Portland. Like, Portland used to be really big, early 2010s. Like, wow, that band's from Portland. Like, how cool. Like, Portlandia, like right before Portlandia came out, that vibe around that city. So, it's not needed anymore. I don't recommend it. Like, if you're comfortable in your own hometown. Now, if you live in a place like Oklahoma City, like there are examples like the Flaming Lips, but I feel like if you're on a coast and you're near a big city, you're fine. But I feel like if you're in the middle, that's kind of tough, man. Yeah, I don't know. You still could do it though. Just keep putting content online, and anything can happen. Like, TikTok could literally change your life, and you don't even know because you're like, there's just like children on that app. But like, dude, there's a lot of people on that app, especially music lovers.
Yeah, my dad has a TikTok.
Right.
There's he's showing me TikTok sometimes. I'm like, man, you're not. There needs to be an age limit on this thing. You can't be on TikTok. Especially if I don't have a TikTok.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're definitely right about that. And I think, even if you are in Oklahoma City, it's more doable now than it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago or 30.
Especially, yeah.
Especially when you think about now, this past year being in the pandemic, it's like literally there's no difference for what's the difference between you being in Santa Barbara, Oklahoma City, LA, New York, or the middle of Nebraska. We're all on the same page pretty much, right?
We're all on the same page. That's what's been the nicest, man. Like, I think the nicest thing about this pandemic, if you can find something like that, obviously it's been really difficult for everyone. It's been difficult for me, been difficult for a lot of people. But like,
yeah, what do you love so much about the pandemic?
That is slow. That it slowed everything down, like career wise.
For sure.
Like the rat race, and like when I would be at work and I see my friends on tour, I'd be like, dude, what the fuck am I doing? And it's that FOMO. It has like killed FOMO. I'm not missing out on anything. Nobody's missing out on anything. And I think it's given us a little bit of time of introspective, look inside, and that's the only thing. That's the only positive thing I can find about this pandemic. But it slowed things down, man.
Well, actually, I mean, things like this, like, I don't know. I mean, you started your podcast a little before the pandemic.
Right before, yeah.
I started mine I'd wanted to do it for so long, and the pandemic really was the initiator for me. It was like, okay, now I have no excuses. Like, I gotta do this. And I finally started it. And then also, if it wasn't for the pandemic, I was always had the idea of, oh, they got to be in person, these interviews and stuff. And now that it's forced to be over the internet, a lot of times it's I'm reaching out to people that I probably wouldn't have. Do you know what I'm saying? And people are more open to it now. It's like a regular, I don't know, thing. We're not.
It is weird. Like getting podcast guests, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's easier than before. Because before, when I was talking to people right at the beginning of the year, they're like, okay, yeah, we have some shows scheduled for June. And then like that time would show up, hey, can we meet up and do this? Oh, we have such a busy day while we're here. And then they cancel, and it's like, fuck, like, man, that sucks. But now it's like, yeah, let's just do it through Zoom. And I've met up with a few people still, like if they live in Santa Barbara, then I've been able to do that, and that's been really nice. Like, it is a lot better doing it in person.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, I've done enough of them now that like I feel like our conversation right now is fine.
Yeah.
Like I'm used to this. Like, I know what to do. But like, you'll find some musicians who are just like don't want to talk, dude.
Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah.
it's a strange thing for people to do that you're not used to it. I mean, even I haven't done too many over Zoom, and
Right.
I was super nervous before we came on, and just
Right.
the anticipation, and I don't know. It's
Yeah.
it's definitely harder to make that connection that you have in person. I definitely feel that.
And I feel like for musicians, it's such a new medium.
Hmm.
Like, prior to this year, I've never been asked. I think I did like one podcast before. And so it's a medium that we have to kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say teach, or it's something that we have to learn, that you
Yeah.
come onto this and you talk. Like, don't be afraid that you're over talking, or, oh man, I think I talk too much in that podcast. It's like, that's the point.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to just talk and talk and talk,
Yeah.
and that's what I like.
We can edit it in post if you're talking too much. We'll cut some of it out.
But like, there's a reason why people are listening. Like, if they're your guest's fan, then yeah, especially if it's one of your guest fans, it's like, yeah, they want to hear that person talk. They want to hear them rant.
One of the
You know?
thoughts that I've had during this time, even for myself, is like during the pandemic, because I'm not regularly seeing a lot of people, I'm definitely, the least
More
social I've
talkative,
been in my
yeah.
life, that like things like this, I think communication and being sociable is like a muscle that
Right.
can go away if you don't use it. If you don't talk to someone for a year, next time you talk to someone, it's going to be like, this is, whoa, what's going
Yeah.
on? So, and I think we all have a little bit of that. We're all not communicating as much as we used to.
Have you thought about what you're gonna do as soon as this is all over with, if it ever ends, or when things get better? Like,
So I'm in Santa Clarita right now.
right?
Before this, I was living in Reno.
Yeah.
I moved back to Santa Clarita when the pandemic hit, lost my job, moved back in with my parents. And so now I'm at the point where, okay, I don't really want to be in the LA area anymore. I'm going to go somewhere else. So my girlfriend and I are going to move to Austin, Texas, pretty soon.
Cool.
So we're excited about that.
That's awesome.
When the pandemic ends, I was pursuing stand-up comedy a little bit.
Right.
That's kind of ended because of the pandemic. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
do Zoom shows or anything like that. So once I can start
Probably
getting
pick.
back, yeah, I was having a lot of fun doing it. So I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to live in a new place. I discover a new area, and
Right.
yeah. What about you?
Austin's pretty great, man. I love that place.
What do you love about it?
I don't know. I'm only there for shows, but I like the affordability of it. I have
Yeah.
good friends there. There's great food. There's just an importance on the arts there. They want there to be art. They love that there's shows, and it's like there's a lot of places to play. And for me, and for you too, with the comedy scene about to blow up over there, like, this is a good time to go to Austin.
Yeah.
But as far as when the pandemic is over, I have no idea, man. I think I'm gonna try and tour again. I'm in real estate school right now, so I'm working to get my real estate license. Like I want to do both, dude. I want to play music and sell houses. That's my goal right now. Like, can I fund my life if I sell one house? Can I just will that let me continue playing music? Like,
Yeah.
you have to find a way to like do both, unless this music thing really takes off, then I'll be good.
How did the real estate thing come about? What is that, a
I
new
saw
thing?
this friend, very new. I'm like on the first part. I think I'm a few chapters in on the first part, but I saw this dude I knew from high school, like on posting on Facebook that he's selling these houses, and it was like one of those Wolf of Wall Street moments. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Whatever, like, I'll quit my job right now if you tell me how you made money, how you're making money, how you're supporting yourself. So yeah, I was Jonah Hill and I was walking up to Leo, and yeah, he just told me he's just doing real estate. I was like, oh, that's tight. Like, I could do that, right? Like, he's like, you don't need, I was like, I don't have a college education. I could just sign up for the classes. They're pretty cheap. They're like $110. And they're all online right now. I don't have to go anywhere. So yeah.
And it seems like a career where maybe you'd have time for music
Right.
as well. You can
Yeah, totally. You can just like leave whenever.
Yeah, yeah,
Just if I have to tour, I can just go.
yeah.
And that's like the ultimate freedom that I've been looking for. I've always struggled with jobs where I've had people like tell me what to
Oh yeah.
do. And so when I got I got a phone call with my buddy from high school, and he was just like, yeah, man, if you're that type of personality, then this might be a good place for you. You know, it's like anything else though. You have to like really hustle, and I think I've gained a lot of those traits just being in music. It's taught me how to be like an entrepreneur, because you know the music industry, the industry side of music is that Dante Elephante is a small business. We sell music and merchandise, and we sell tickets to shows. Well, what happens when the tickets to shows goes away? Okay, then maybe I should focus more on merch. Maybe I should focus more on other creative stuff. While you know, I already had the album in the can, so I've been writing a little bit, but there isn't like a pressure to write. So I've been writing when I want to, which is nice.
Yeah. Was that something you always knew getting into music? Did you always have those skills of being able to promote yourself and look at it like a business, or did you learn that along the way?
I learned that along the way. Yeah, I definitely learned that along the way. That's not something I just wanted to play shows and have fun, and I think you should have that mentality at the beginning. You should just have fun, because if you don't like it, then whatever. At least you had fun. But then as soon as things start ramping up and there's interest, I think you should make that switch in your mind that like, oh, okay, this is a business. Especially as soon as you play a show where you're selling tickets, like real tickets, like you sell out Soho or something, and you kind of see how the machine works. And like I worked at a music venue in Santa Barbara, so I saw how that side of it worked. I was like, okay, let me throw my own show. And I think I booked Twin Peaks at Velvet Jones. Like, oh, I saw how the promotion side works. Okay, I see how everyone's making money, and I saw how the sausage was made. And musicians get paid last. Learn that quickly. Yeah. Everyone else gets paid before you.
I mean, you've been pursuing music seriously for what, 10 years now?
Yeah, 11 years almost.
I mean, you've seen, like we were talking about earlier, you've seen bands come and go throughout that time.
Yeah.
And you've stuck to it, and
it really, like, it stems from our first couple shows playing at at Muddy Waters, a small coffee shop, and like, you know, the older people who are older than me, who they're, you know, now looking back, they were just in their late 20s, early 30s, but they're talking to me, someone who's in 21, and they're just like, hey man, you need to soak up all the information you can right now, and it will only benefit you at the end. I feel like now that the time has turned and I'm in that position, I have a podcast now and stuff like that. We can give this advice and on the internet versus like having to be at a show and open for a band, and then they're telling you how to navigate through the industry, where now we can share these stories online, and it can benefit like a lot of young bands listening, because I know most of my listeners on the podcast are just other people in bands and the fans of the guests. But like if you're a regular listener because of Dante, it's like you're probably in another band, and you want to hear the tips. Yeah,
helping people out is such a huge thing, I think. And it there's not always, you know, artists who want to share the codes and who want to help people out, or I don't know if they want people to struggle, but it's just like,
it's because no one told them.
Yeah, that's
they had to learn it themselves, so they think you should learn it yourself.
Right.
We all get help along the way. Yeah. Everyone helps us along the way. Like,
right.
Any opening show you got, someone stuck their neck out for you to put you on that opening show.
Yeah.
Like, to take on your record. The idea that a label would ever want to work with you, it's all based on trust and their investment in you, thinking you'll do the right thing by honoring your side and promoting the record hard. Like, it's a lot of trust in this thing.
With enough experience, you learn that helping others helps yourself out.
Right.
Being nice to people will just open more doors in the future. It's not, you know, there's a lot of people that can do specific things in whatever industry well, but one component of it is like, is this a cool guy to hang out with? I'm sure you see, like, could I see myself going on tour with people? Are they, you know, going to be a pain in the ass? Are they complain a lot? It's like,
yeah, it's all about being a good hang is a big part of it. It's like, you know, especially with touring, because you have to show up every day to the next day, next city. Hey, nice to see you guys again. And it's like you're talking backstage. It's like small backstage green rooms are real tiny. Like you have to be able to cohabitate with each other in your own band, which is hard to find, and then let alone with another band who brings different energy and baggage on a tour. Like, it's all about being a good hang. Yeah, it's different with like comedians. Like, it's just like you just have to worry about yourself, the individual, and you yourself can be a good hang. But like if you have like a weird drummer and then they can weird somebody out on a tour, and it's like you've ruined it on my behalf.
But even comedians open for other comedians,
all the time.
So it has to do with who how cool you are in that too, and who I'm going to invite on my podcast, and who I'm gonna, I don't know. I think it can apply to so many things. Unless you're the number one pop star in the world, you can't really be a diva.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, man. I've slowly have gotten to know a few comedians over the last year, and we're both very similar. Like, it's just like a grind, and there has to be like a love for this. If you're still doing it at this point, there has to be a love for it, because there's not a lot going on. Like,
I heard the episode that you had Ali Makovsky on. That was
she's great.
Cool to hear you talk to her about the comparisons.
Another one, Fahim Anwar. Do you know him?
Yeah, he's so sick. He
just shared me the other day.
Jam in the Van video, right?
Yeah, I was like, oh damn.
Yeah, that's sick. It's cool coming from him too, because he's a great dancer, so he knows that you got the moves. Yeah. Have you seen on his Instagram? He'll post a lot of like, I don't know if he used to be a dancer or something, but he's he's got great moves. He can like really dance. Yeah, check out his Instagram.
Dude, I gotta check that out. Yeah.
Yeah, he's super funny though.
The funniest one I got this week was Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit.
Oh, sick.
I don't know if he would like me talking about this or not, but he did DM me this week, and he likes the music, and I was like, hell yeah, dude. I was like, sick. Thanks for reaching out. Like, I'm going to talk about it on my podcast next week, but
that's so awesome.
So funny.
Did you have any connection with him before, or
I think you saw me on TikTok.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I woke up the other day, and my TikTok of us playing one of our songs in Jam in the Van got like 17,000 views. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And he commented and followed me, and then he messaged me again on Instagram, and I was like, what the hell is why is Fred Durst talking to me? And he's really cool, man. He's really mellow. He's really not what I thought it was going to be. So I was like, this is awesome.
Are you going to get him on the podcast?
Dude, I haven't asked him yet, but you never know.
I wanted to ask you about starting your podcast, and I mean, it's been going for over a year now?
Yeah, over a year now. Yeah.
Yeah. How is that? I mean, I was just listening to, I think, one of your first episodes, and you were saying how you're nervous starting it out and stuff. And then listening to the recent ones, I was just listening to who's the bear in the big blue house guy?
Oh, Mitchell Kriegman.
Yeah, that was a cool one.
Yeah.
I can just tell that you're so much more comfortable. Do you feel like?
Yeah, it's just like constantly doing them. And doing them, where you just feel so much better. And then you're listening back to them. Like, I remember when I was listening to my first episodes, I was like, oh, I cannot listen to myself talk. Like, it's different than listening to yourself sing. I'm used to that sound. But like listening to myself talk, I hear all the little imperfections or the lisp or like all of that shit. And you just get over it, I guess. Or you just get more comfortable with it.
Right.
Or you just get, like, I ultimately just get better at talking on the mic, which is something I've never like really done before. Like, we didn't do a lot of interviews, and when people do interviews, they just kind of like email you the questions and you write them down. That's like what indie rock journalism has been for the last like 10 years. Here's like 5 to 10 questions, answer them. And some people, I think there's still a place for that, because at the end of the day, like, I heard a David Berman interview where he was talking about like there's still this like unspoken social thing where maybe we won't like open our hearts enough and give like the real answer, because there's still like a normality, like this social thing, this social contract that we both have, that we're just having a normal conversation. It's gonna be light and fun. But when you write something, you can say whatever you want and maybe even think about it. Where right now I'm just going and I'm not really thinking about it and I'm just talking. So there is a place for that, the old way of emails and questions like that. But
yeah, I think there's still a place for that, but the questions, they need to be good.
Right.
not like, what's your favorite color, or if you were an animal,
Yeah.
what would you be, or some, I mean,
Yeah.
those are fine too, but sometimes you read it and like the five, like I didn't learn anything
Yeah.
substantial about,
Totally.
this band. And in my opinion, this is much better.
Totally. And I just really focused in on like some of the other podcasters I love and figured out like, oh, what kind of questions are they asking that I liked? What did I like? What did I dislike? Like one of my favorites is Charlemagne the God. I
Oh
feel like
yeah.
he just gets like the most out of people. And he's hilarious. So
Yeah.
I really looked at him and I was like, oh, okay. I really like how he does it. Obviously, he was problematic, I guess, a few years ago, but like,
Yeah.
he's changed and he's very thoughtful. And I didn't know him a few years ago, but like, yeah, I think he's really thoughtful and asks good questions.
What else? Tiger Belly.
I love Tiger Belly. I love Your Mom's House. That's who's blowing up that TikTok right now.
Oh,
Because
really?
I have that Tom Segura shirt on, and it's just all the other mommies just being like, keep it feathering, brother. Like all like
Wow.
that's who's blowing that thing up right now. It's hilarious. And I didn't even like put like hashtag YMH or anything like that. Like I just
Yeah. Does that make you think about things for the future when you're trying to market yourself, or you're
I had a little bit of foresight that day. I was like maybe a few days before. I was like, I'm gonna wear the Tom Segura shirt because it's gonna Jam in the Van has a decent size YouTube following, and ultimately I want to like talk to Tom. Like
Yeah.
I've met him once and he's really nice. I was like, I think he'd like Dante. I think something could happen there. But like, there's a little bit of foresight. But like, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't fucking happen. Like, I'm also good with that too.
Who's the big K-pop group? What's their name?
BTS.
BTS. Yeah, you got to wear
Yeah.
a BTS shirt next time, though.
Yeah,
They'll blow
absolutely.
your shit up.
Absolutely, man.
So yeah, listening to those podcasts is, I mean, what's your process like when you're preparing to talk to people? Are you prepping interview questions? Is it hard reaching out to people? Like,
For in person, when I was first doing them, I wasn't doing any prep at all. It was just like, let's just have them come in and we'll just talk. And I have general ideas. I'm a musician. I know what it's like to live this life. So we could just chat like it would if we were in the green room or if we were on tour together. Like these are the same kind of conversations. But then as soon as it moved to Zoom, and the first couple ones, I was kind of just like realizing, oh, this is not the same. This doesn't have the same energy. So that's when I started prepping. I started prepping for the Zoom ones. And now the latest thing I'm doing, I'm not doing this for our conversation, but I've been writing down if they say something weird or like something like, oh, okay, we could talk about that. I've just been writing it down. So there's not a lot of prep. Maybe I'll have a couple questions, but like, so I can keep the conversation flowing in a way that's just kind of seamless. Because things just get kind of lost, especially through Zoom. The audio quality is not great, and you're kind of like, what are they saying? Like, oh, okay. Like the other one, for Juan Wayne, they said they're like, dressed like cowboys, but they loved Oasis. And I was like, okay, Cowboy Oasis. I'll ask them about that later. So then like when I felt there was a lull in the conversation, I was like, so you guys said Cowboy Oasis. And they laughed, and then we took it from there. But it's all about when that conversation dips and falls. It's like, oh, okay, I need to talk now. Oops. Like,
that's good. That's a good tip.
Right.
Yeah, shit. I just forgot what I was going to say. I should have something written down.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, what I was going to say is, for me, at least, I find a difference in podcasts where I know the person super well versus if I don't know them as well, or if I have never met them at all. It's just with people that I have never met, it tends to be more interviewee. And then, if it's a good friend of yours, it tends to be more conversational and just like hanging out with a friend. So
yeah, it's the trick of trying to make them, even if you don't know them, still sound like, oh, we're friends. Like, nice to see you again. Like, that's the challenge. And that's, who does that the best, I think, is Mark Maron. Like, he's like who got me into podcasting. Big fan of Mark Maron. And I didn't know. I thought he knew all these people. Like, when I was like, oh, he's like, he's around, but he really doesn't. And the way that he always starts everybody from the start, he's like, okay, let's just go back to the beginning. Where are you from? I'm like, oh, okay. Like he
Yeah.
can take it from the start and build you up, and you get the full story of these people's life, and you really understand. I feel like I know Nicole Kidman now. Like I don't know, like, and that's something I really admired and took notes from that, where it's like, you know, trying to build the story of who these people are if you don't know who they are already.
You're from Goleta. I actually wanted to, that reminds me, I wanted to ask you about, because I spent 2 years living in Isla Vista. I
Right.
transferred there, and I finished my last 2 years at UCSB in Isla Vista. But I always thought about the people who live in Goleta. I was like, wow, they live here, like they're right next to the chaos of UCSB. Like, well, they don't leave after 4 years.
Right.
They're here.
Yeah.
But it's a weird kind of juxtaposition, because Goleta is kind of this quiet, like mellow. There's families that live there and stuff. But what was it like growing up there as a kid? Was it weird being next to the #1 party school and all of this business? I mean,
so I grew up for the first like 15 years actually on the west side of Santa Barbara, and then I think there was like a drive-by. I know there was a drive-by one day, and my mom was like, "That's it, we're moving to Goleta." And so we moved deep in Goleta, off Los Caneros, the opposite side of Los Caneros.
Okay.
I'm more by San Marcos now. I'm in a different area, but like we lived way out there, man. There's a lot of old people. Like, we're on the west side. We blended in. We're very loud, but we blended into the whole neighborhood because there's just a lot of Latinos, a lot of kids. Like, when we moved deep into Goleta, we were the loudest house on the block, and we were not welcomed, and they did not like us living over there. You know? It's just a lot of retirees, older, like, not even just, like, work. It's, like, 70s, 80-year-old white people out there, and we were loud. I had my band, like, we were just fucking loud, and we were not welcomed, and it's different. It's very different, man. I think there is like some feeling of the locals to the UCSB students, like that students come here, they disrespect the area, and then they leave. And then they're just like, fuck it. Like, it's like what's going on right now. None of them are wearing masks.
Right.
All the virus is just spreading through IV like crazy, and they don't give a fuck. But then they leave IV, and then they're not. I saw some people downtown Santa Barbara yesterday without a mask. I don't know if they're UCSB students, but they're just like walking around like everything's fine. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, get away from me. So there is a feeling that it's like, they're from these other parts of town. They're here. They're at school to party and do school and whatever. And it's a struggle, but it is far enough where I don't feel the IV presence just because I'm in Goleta. It's far enough where it's like it's over there, and we're all over here. And
do you think you're in Santa Barbara for good, or could you see, like, in all the places you toured across the country, could you see yourself living somewhere else? Or
I could see myself in Boise, Idaho.
Oh yeah,
that's like one place when we stop off and tour that I just like love.
What'd you love about it?
It's so small. It's like even smaller than Santa Barbara.
Yeah,
and like. It's just cold all the time and dark, and
I don't know if you'll be able to keep up the barefoot thing up in Boise.
Dude, yeah,
you might have to put some shoes on.
Dude, it's a struggle, man. Like the first night I spent in Boise, I was like sleeping in like my shorts, my regular clothes, and I was just like, oh, this sucks. What the fuck? So I learned the hardest way. I booked a tour in 2019 in the winter, in February, and I was like, well, February in Santa Barbara's really nice. Like, it should be nice like that everywhere. Little did I know that was like the worst time to like leave your house, like in any other city. I learned that the hardest way. So no, I think I like Boise a lot. I think it's really small and cute, and they have a cool music scene. And there's not a lot of musicians and artists though, but they have a big festival called Treefort that's like amazing. They treat you so well.
I think that, I feel, at least for me, growing up in Southern California, there's like a desire to, even though everyone else says how the weather is so great in Southern California, it's
right.
Like, there's a desire to experience other places, and I guess have the perspective of like, at least what it's like to spend a winter with snow. And I think that can be good for your mind, maybe, to go through that.
I just saw snow for the very first time like a few years ago.
What was that like?
crazy. There's a video of me like my bass player woke me up. He's like, Ruben, it's snowing. It's like, I was like, it's what? And I got up and like I ran outside. I was in my shorts barefoot in the snow in Boise, and I was just like, holy shit. Like, it's the funniest video, funniest, grainiest, nasty video of me. But like, yeah, it was awesome. It was so cool.
So going back to, the time, like when you'd finished Rare Attractions, everyone kind of decided to go their separate ways. Did you feel like you were just kind of alone for a moment and deciding, what am I going to do with Dante Elephante next? Did you have any idea of maybe I'll scrap this and start a new project that's something else? Or how did you come to continuing it and finding new band members?
Yeah, so there was a moment for a few months where I felt like, oh shit, what's going on? Like I had just moved back to Santa Barbara, and I started working this like sandwich job that I just fucking hated. And I was like, this sucks, man. I was like, well, there's submissions for South by Southwest. I was like, everyone has a bad story about that festival, but I wanted to have my own bad story. I didn't want someone to be like, oh, did you ever play South by Southwest? And I was like, no, I always heard it was like lame. So it's like, okay, I want to be like, I played South by Southwest, and yeah, it's lame. Like, I wanted to play from my experience, not just from like other jaded bands. So I applied, and I was like, I never get in for this kind of stuff, so I'm not expecting anything. And then we got in. We got an official show, which ended up not being that great. It fucking sucked. But like, it was awesome. And in that moment when I got the email, I was at work, and I was just like in the walk-in, the walk-in like refrigerator. I was like, oh shit, I need a band now. Fuck. And so it started, man. I was like, let me try and find the best drummer I knew, the best bass player I knew, best guitar player, to build this like all-star band almost. Of just really talented musicians who they all have their other projects and everyone's in different bands, but like when we get together, we're tight and we sound really great. And because you never know, I just want a really tight, reliable band. And we've had some different drummers and all that, but that's what I have now, and I feel really good about it. But it took a little while.
So going into mid-century modern romance, did this was the first record where you were with a new band. Was your approach to it any different? It
was a little different this time around. We worked with a different producer, and he had a whole different style than what I was used to. Working with Jonathan Rado in the past, it was always very loose, very much like, let's just make the record sound cool, let's not worry about like the tiny imperfections. Where this time around, working with Paul Cherry, it was very like, let's do everything to a grid, everything is perfectly in time, everything's perfectly in tune. And it's just different because the music is different. When you're doing something that's supposed to be more rock or surf rock or whatever, it can be a little sloppier. That kind of adds to the sound, where I don't think you can do that with funk or disco. It needs to be like pretty tight. So that's why, it was maybe a learning experience for me, but at the end of the day, that was the best thing for this record, was for it to be gridded and tight and just like no imperfections, unless stylistically I chose to make there an imperfection or something like.
Yeah, I love it. I think you definitely leveled up. I mean, going, through your discography, it feels like every time you make some sort of progression, and I feel like, for me at least, every album keeps getting better.
Yeah,
personally,
that's the point. And if it doesn't get better, I'm not gonna do it anymore. It just needs, for me, it just needs to feel like there's a growth.
Yeah,
for the art.
Yeah. Because I remember you when you were talking to Jerry Paper, you mentioned, you were like, did you have a feeling, when did you know that Like a Baby was like different or special or something? He's like, well, all my records are special or something like that. And I was kind of like, because I felt the same way that you were talking about.
Dude, I wanted to say something in that moment, and I was like, if we were in person, I would have. But because it's Zoom and it can just get awkward, I didn't. But I was like, when you're writing these songs, like, oh, this one feels different. And you're showing people, and you're getting different reactions, like,
right.
Yeah. But no, I wanted to say something, and then I didn't because, I don't know him. That was the first time I'd ever met him, was through that Zoom call. So
I wouldn't have said anything either.
If it was in person, I fucking would be like, no, dude, you had to have known. Those songs stick out.
Yeah. I
On
feel
Like a
that
Baby,
too. Yeah.
like,
Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to think about artists being protective of their older work and wanting that to be, I guess, on the same level that everything is. But I don't know. Generally, I mean, for me as an artist, I feel like I want everything that I put out to be better than the last. And
right.
I'm not going to put it out if I feel like it's worse. I'm like, yeah, that old shit sucked. This shit rocks. Like,
Yeah.
but sometimes people are too harsh on their older stuff and they're
Right.
like, oh, I can't listen to my own music. And it's, once I finish it, I'm done. And that's always kind of crazy to me too. I'm like, wow, you can't even enjoy your own music.
There's a few songs I have in Dante's catalog that are like that, where I can't even listen to them.
That's understandable.
But that's mostly from like, oh, I can't believe we put out that recording. Like, it just sounds like I'm not happy with that recording. Like, the songs are cool, but like maybe I wasn't happy with how that song came out. But yeah.
And I mean, you were a different person 10 years ago than you are.
Dude,
too. It's like
I was a child.
Yeah.
I was 20 years old.
I was listening to the record today actually, and I was listening to Emotion, and I was like,
Right.
oh, this kind of reminds me of like Mario Kart vibes. Like, for some reason, it reminded me of Mario Kart. Like, the beginning, I was like,
yeah.
I was thinking, I was like, would you ever think about trying to do something for a video game, or
Yeah.
are you inspired by video game music?
Yeah, if something like that ever happened, I'd be super into it. Like, I've done a few scoring projects for friends who ended up just doing like online work. Like, the shows didn't get picked up, but it was still a fun show to work on, and stuff like that is really fun. We did play a lot of Mario Kart on tour, but the song was already written, but maybe it like seeped in like when it came time to produce,
Yeah.
But Mario Kart on our last tour was very big, man. Like, we would set up the Switch at every hotel, at every green room that had a TV. The headliners, they also played, so we would just play like after we both sound check, like just sit there and play. Like, it was very big for us. So
How do you feel with comparisons in music? Like, if somebody says, oh, this reminds me of this, or this sounds like that to me.
dude, TikTok had some fucking crazy ones last night. Like, it sounds like Phil Collins meets like this. Like, I'm like, Phil Collins? Like, I listened to like one Phil Collins song like ever. And I don't see that comparison, but yeah, TikTok has some funny ass ones, man. But we used to get a bunch of different ones, like the Buzzcocks when we were younger and stuff like that, the Strokes and stuff like that. But like, I never really understood that.
Yeah. This one probably will come out of left field for you, but I was listening to your music and something about the singing. I don't know if it's your voice or maybe the cadence or something, but something reminded me kind of Rod Stewart in a way.
I take it. I like in Rod we trust.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
But your voice is smoother.
Yeah.
This is a little, I don't know. Edgy.
Yeah. Yeah, Rod. I do like Rod Stewart, man. I've been playing a lot of GTA San Andreas in the pandemic. Like, at the start of the pandemic, I was playing a lot of San Andreas. And what's that song? Young Turks is on one of the radio stations, so that plays a lot. But Rod Stewart.
Okay. So far, two of them are, I mean, Mario Kart and Rod Stewart. At least a little bit of it seeping into your ears.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. There was in high school, I was in this band called Tigers in the City. It was me and my cousins, and we started getting shows with this band called the Hairbrain Scheme, and they went to UCSB, and they thought we were in UCSB, but we were in high school. But they kept asking us to open for them, and they used to cover a Rod Stewart song too. They used to cover Young Turks. Yeah, they're wild, dude. We thought that band was gonna be so famous. They were so good, but they didn't. Yeah.
Has that happened a lot throughout the 10 years? You're like, oh, this band's going to be huge, then they don't. And then you get some bands that you come in contact with, you're like, they should quit now. And then they get big, maybe.
That happens all the time, man. I'm like, how is that band so big? But like, at the end of the day, like when I was younger, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, why is that band so big? Fuck them. Like, blah, blah, blah. But now I've gotten to the point where I'm like, that's cool. Yeah. I think there's enough for everyone to eat, There's enough audience for everyone to have their own, and if a band can sell tickets, that's awesome. Like, That's really cool. I don't hate on bands anymore if they do well, but like early 20s, absolutely. But that whole thing like stems from insecurity at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Of like, why are they doing something and I'm not doing it? It's because I'm not working hard enough yet.
Well, and it's less it has less power today to say things like that when you used to be able to,
Right.
like the record labels used to really control who got
Right.
who was heard and who's not. And now with the internet, there's not as, I mean, there's still streaming and
It still happens. Yeah.
but it's there's if you're good enough or if you make it happen, there's no one's
Right.
that can hold you down if it's good
Totally.
enough, if it relates enough or whatever.
It's hard getting from that place of we're playing bars, house shows, and a couple people know who we are. And like, cause Dante started before Instagram started. Like there was no Instagram. It was like we had a MySpace and a Facebook. Those were the two things we started. And then I opened a Twitter account and I have a YouTube channel, the same YouTube account and the same Twitter account that I use today.
Wow.
Like it's crazy. There's just a lot of different ways of promoting yourself that we saw grow in front of our eyes. Like I remember we were practicing one day and my bass player walks in. He's like, dude, have you guys heard of Spotify? It's like moments like that where like, oh shit, there's a change happening and you just don't notice it at the time, but it's like, yeah, you have to be at the forefront of the change. And we're going to, it happens every 5 to 10 years. So we're going to see some crazy changes happening right now with the music industry.
Looking back on your career, do you have anything that you wish that you would have done differently? Or
yeah, I would have stopped getting drunk before shows.
do you still get drunk before shows?
No. I'll maybe have like a beer, like to loosen up, maybe a beer or two to loosen up. But like the idea of getting like buzzed or drunk and then like getting on that stage because you think it's going to be a more fun experience, it's not actually.
For you or the audience?
Both. Yeah. It's just like, I think they know you're drunk. And I think at the time when you're like 21, you're like, yeah, I'm drunk. But like, it's
anything ever go very wrong? Vomit
Dude,
on stage or anything?
I
like
blacked
that?
out on stage. And I was like, oh my God, we finished the set. Like the next day I was like, I can't believe we played last night. And then someone put it up on YouTube. I had to ask them to take it down. Like, but it actually didn't even sound that bad. I was like, wow, we're actually playing pretty good. Because we were playing at Whiskey Richards. I don't know if you know that bar.
Oh yeah, Whiskey. That's so funny.
Dude, they're just like because we started filling the place up.
Yeah.
Because I had just turned 21. All my friends had just turned 21. It was easy to get to them to that bar. And they were just like not paying us, obviously. So they're just giving us pitcher after pitcher. And we're just like getting fucking trashed to play there.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Yeah, that's funny. Whiskey Richard is actually that's the first place I ever performed stand-up comedy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
At the open mic?
Yeah, at the open mic. It was a big mistake because I didn't perform for a long time after that because it was it's an open mic. It's not a comedy open mic. It's
like a
pretty much music mostly, and
right.
They'll have one or two comics, and the hosts of the open mic were like kind of bummed that people were coming to do comedy. It's kind of like, so why are you guys here? Like, this is because there's people in the bar, and going from music to comedy to music to it just doesn't work well. And there's people talking over you, and it was a bad experience.
Yeah,
getting heckled and stuff, so that discouraged me. I was getting heckled by the guy who was hosting the open mic.
Holy shit.
The first time I'm trying to say my jokes and he's like talking through it and stuff. I was like, why are you fucking with me? This is your open mic. Don't you want us to do well?
It doesn't. It means they don't. It means they're in themselves like,
yeah,
they have this like performative streak in their mind that they're like, I could do that. Yeah. But it's like, you're not doing it. Like, let me do it. There's just not a great comedy scene. Well, I shouldn't say that because I'm not educated enough. But I don't know if there's a great comedy scene in Santa Barbara. I've been to a few shows and I've been to a few open mics, but it's not like, there's like one place to play. It's like a really small scene. And if you're not in it, I don't know, maybe they don't let you in, but.
Yeah, I would say it's not a great comedy scene just for the fact that to get really good at stand-up comedy, most people would say that you need to be performing many times a week,
right.
like almost probably every night of the week. but at least 5 nights a week or something like that. And in Santa Barbara, I think there's maybe one or two comedy open mics that you can do consistently a week. And I just don't think that's enough.
Yeah, it was like Mel's on a Tuesday.
Right. Yeah. I think that might be the only one.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Performing for you, where did the white suit come from?
um,
Are you
the
still
white
rocking the white suit?
I have retired the white suit as I did one last show New Year's Eve 2019, and I was like, "This is it, man. We're hanging it up on the rafters. This is the last show." It started because we did the music video for "Call Me on the Phone," and my buddy, who's an actor, directed it. His name is Kevin Bigley. He's on a show on Amazon right now called Upload. He directed it, and he was like, "Dude, what if we did something weird like a white suit?" And I was like, I'm down. And then we went to like a Sears or one of those places, and we just found all the pieces, and we found the jacket, and we found the pants that never really fit me, but they worked. I eventually bought like a few years ago, right before I left on tour, I bought like real fitting pants because on my last tour they completely ripped. And I was like, okay, these things are fucking done. So I bought like a real pair of white jeans that have been really nice, just to wear like in general. And yeah, it's crazy. It took a little life of its own, but it's done, and it is nice though. It does feel nice to wear all white.
It's cool. I think it's cool when artists go through different eras of their style, and you can kind of
Right.
like look back and be like, oh yeah, that outfit was in this era, or that one was in that era. So do you have plans for the future of is there going to be a new stage outfit?
I like that too. I learned a lot of stuff like from Foxygen, like talking to them,
Yeah, yeah.
and how they kind of had their career planned out from the start. Like they had all their album names like since they were in high school.
Wow.
Like everything has been super planned, and the way Sam looks, like he's doing Todd Rundgren on this. After Todd Rundgren, he's gonna do his Thin White Duke thing, and I was like, oh, that's sick. It's like everything's planned out, so all you have to do is focus on the songwriting. You don't have to worry about all the other shit. And I was like, okay, then I'll do a white suit for this record, and then for the next record, I'll do a mullet. And that's all I have right now, and that's why I have a mullet in the album cover, because this is supposed to be my mullet era. But now the mullet is so fuckboyed that I'm gonna get rid of mine. I still have it, but like,
Yeah, I think you need to re-mullet the mullet.
yeah, it's all long on the side. I got like one haircut this year, so
Yeah,
I got the one haircut, and it was to shoot the album art, and then I haven't gotten a haircut since. Yeah.
Aside from the outfit, do you think about the future of Dante Elephante, or are you still soaking in the release of this last record? Or I mean, how much do you think about the future? Have you adopted Foxygen's method? You got the next 10 albums planned out in your...
Absolutely not, man. Those guys were in a situation that was a little more, I think they signed like a 4-album deal, so it's easier to like plan out the next 4 albums. I am not. I am album by album kind of thing. My plan for Dante is really just to build the audience right now, and so I can get to a point where a label isn't going to help me. It's like right now people look at labels to invest in them. I don't want an investment. I want a partnership. Where it's like, I can do this on my own. I'm working with you because I want to, and what you're going to bring to the table, but here I already have an audience, because that's what they want anyways. Any label wants you to have a built-in audience to begin with. So at this point, I love working with Born Losers. I have some new songs I'm working on, but I think what's going to happen next is features. I think features is such a big part of the hip-hop community of cross-promoting each other that I want to start doing that. I don't know how, but like people I've been putting out the like signal, like, hey, I'm down to write with people. So a lot of people have come up to me and like, hey, let's write, but it's just a matter of being able to meet up.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how it works through Zoom. I don't know if it could work doing that way, but sending each other like song like stems, like I don't know. But the feature is what I want to do next.
That's awesome. That's an awesome idea. I think that's really cool to look at, what they're doing within hip hop and borrow from different places that you think works. I mean, just like you've mentioned with the the podcast within the comedy scene of people having other people and helping promote each other, and
Right.
the people that stem from Joe Rogan and creating that community. I've always said that I think there's a void that could be filled for like a Joe Rogan of music who
Right.
is interviewing artists and kind of doing that same, like a big artist, you know, equatable to Joe Rogan in comedy within music.
Right.
I'm like, why hasn't
Mac DeMarco started a podcast?
Yeah,
Like,
that's one specifically. That would be huge.
That would be huge. Like, it'd be so good. He's so funny and knows so many people. I even told Rado, I was like, dude, Rado, you should start a podcast. Like, you know, like Father John Misty, you know, like all these other, you know, the Killers. Like, you could get the Killer. I can't get the Killers on my podcast. I don't know them, but like, you do. You should do. And he's like, yeah, I should. And he's like, you know, thinking about it, but I doubt he will because he's just so busy and he's so talented producing that he's so busy. Like, but like someone like Mac DeMarco or someone like that, like, could really set it off. And I was kind of waiting for that moment. And I was like, oh, someone's going to do it. And I was like, fuck it. I'll just do it. I'm obviously not on their level, but like, I think if I build something and I'm consistent enough that it could build and it can grow into something where I could do something like that. Who knows?
I think you're so right. And I think it's so smart. I think that, yeah, I mean, if you look at these people who started there as a while, like Joe Rogan was not nearly as big as he is now when he first started his podcast. Mark Maron was not nearly as big as he is now as when he first started his podcast.
Mark thought his career was ending.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So where you're at now, I mean, I think some of the guests you've already had are, in my eyes, big guests and super cool to see.
I think so
and
too.
I think
Yeah,
it'll just get the ball rolling. And yeah, I think you've done a great job with your podcast. When I found out about it and was going through, I'm like, how is this shit not bigger? This is this is so good. Just everything. Do you make the transition music in the
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so sick. That's like it's like a different vibe from Dante Elephante, kind of. Some of the little beats and stuff. I'm like,
I was like talking to someone, I think it's like on episode 6, and I was like, yeah, man, I need like an intro song or something. And he just laughed. He's like, dude, you're a musician. I'm like, oh yeah, I could write an intro. Fuck. All right. And I was like, oh, what if I just have a bunch of different intros? And I'm like, oh, okay. So now I don't have like a theme. It's just like, I have like a folder of just like random beats, and I'll just pick whichever one feels like the right intro for the episode.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I have a lot of little beats that I've never used and stuff, and I'll just put random little things where like, I never did anything with this. I'll just put it at the intro,
Right,
just to get it out there a little bit. Yeah. Oh, one last quick thing I wanted to ask you about was I heard you, I don't know where I heard you mention this, but maybe it was on one of your podcasts. You played football in high school.
Yeah, I did.
What was that like?
It was awesome. I tried to quit like 3 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What position did you play?
I played center and nose guard.
Oh, nice.
Did you play football?
I played 1 year in 7th grade.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it was awesome. It was like I didn't do it my freshman year because I had gotten into the marching band, but then I couldn't march, so I got kicked out of the marching band like midway through the summer. But it was already too late to join football. So I didn't do it my freshman year. So I got into it my sophomore year. I did sophomore, junior, and senior year. And it was cool, man. Like it teaches you a lot about responsibility outside of just like how learning how to play the game. I wasn't in love with our coaches. I think we could have had better coaches. Like I think with the access of the internet today, I could have just YouTubed better techniques.
Yeah.
I think our techniques were pretty simplified, but like, but maybe that's what we needed, man. I don't know. Cause my high school, it was a weird transitional period in the high school where the grades before me, the classes before me had like Alex Mack, who ended up going to the NFL, and he still plays for the Falcons. Like, so he was a big dude who could do a lot of different stuff. So they ran a 3-4 scheme. Well, by the time I was there, we were not athletes. Like, we should have went to a very simple 4-3 where you just run forward, just try to get the quarterback. But it was just like so much reading and like trying to figure out this and that. But then the offense was like, I don't know. I have a lot of complaints. Obviously, these are like from high school. I'm fucking 30 now. I should not be complaining about how my high school coaches could have done better. But we didn't win a single game. It was the 50th anniversary of the school, and we went 0-10. The first team to ever do that.
Wow.
It was awesome. I had a great time. We all got yelled at every week. It was brutal.
That's funny.
I know. I tried to quit several times, man.
And they said no.
They said no. I just wanted to play music. That's all. I didn't show up to a game because I had a show.
Yeah. I was surprised to hear that you played football and that you're this big Cowboys fan and stuff, because it just I don't know, my experience within like the music community and stuff, those don't usually go together too often. People who, make music, they're like, sport? Who's Dak Prescott? Like,
yeah, they hate football. They hate sports. Like,
I
had somebody the other day who was like, sports suck. I was like, okay, we're done here.